Okay, I think it's that time, everyone. Welcome, welcome. I'm Jennifer. If you're just joining us, I'm with Sonoran Desert Institute. We are super excited for tonight's webinar. I've got Kip Carpenter with me as well of American Gunsmithing. Kip, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Thanks for having me.
Yep, we are super excited. If any, we've had quite a few people join in the last minute or two, so just as people come in, if you'd like to ask a question to Kip, we've gotten a ton of good questions already. You should have a bar along the right or left side of your screen with a little area that says questions, and go ahead and type up your questions, submit them there. We're going to leave a lot of time for Q&A, so we'll try to get to as many of those as possible, but if you think of anything, put it in right there, and then we'll be sure to have Kip answered if he can. So, perfect. Just to do a quick audio check, I know that some people are hearing me because I can see these questions coming in. If you cannot hear me for some reason, I guess that's not even a good way to do it, since if you can't hear me, I can't have you type in anything. But if audio becomes funky, let me know using that chat function or the questions function. I'm going to be monitoring both of them throughout the course of the hour here. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive in. Kip, actually, what we'll do first is just to catch everybody up. We've got a ton of attendees tonight, way, way more than usual. So what I want to take a minute to do is just make sure that no matter where people have come from, whether that be Facebook or an email or word of mouth or anything like that, they all kind of know what SDI is and where we're coming from and why we do this kind of thing. So just to kind of let everybody know about us. Oops, sorry, let me pull this back up here. So the SDI School of Firearms Technology is, hold on. Give me just a quick second here. I'm getting an alert here that says we're at our maximum number of attendees. So congratulations to you people that are already on there. Let me see if I can. We've got a higher number than that. That's so strange. Give me one quick second here while I work out this little technical detail. I'm going to see if I can get some information here. We were able to register quite a few people, but again, this is the biggest group that we've had, so this is the first time we've run into this question or this problem here. Okay, guys, sorry for the delay on that. I guess you guys are the lucky few because webinar, the service that we use is saying that we're not allowed to upgrade the number of people that can attend in the middle of a session. So you guys are VIPs, and we're just going to have to move forward. I've posted on the Facebook page, and I'm going to try to shoot out an email at some point here to let everybody know who is trying to get in right now what's going on. But I do apologize if any of your friends or anything like that are trying to get on. So sorry. We will. We're going to go ahead and post the link as soon as possible to get this rolling for people. But looks like it's just going to be us tonight. So welcome. And let's go ahead and just to make up for a little bit of time, I'll just do really quickly here the SDI side of things, and then we'll keep moving forward. And I apologize if you keep seeing that thing pop up that says no more attendees allowed. That's what I'm seeing at least, so I'll try to keep that under control. But as you can see, this is a high demand webinar. So, okay, so SDI School of Firearms Technology. We are an accredited online firearms school, and some of the good parts about us are that we're flexible as far as scheduling goes. Everything's delivered to your door, and we have really, really cool curriculum, and a lot of that has been developed, over the last couple years. We've taken essentially the best parts of everything that's existed within SDI for almost 100 years now and kind of modernized it and brought it up to date using the help of our instructors and all that good stuff. So we do have quite a few programs and courses available, 2 of which are approved for use of VA and TA benefits, and various other military benefits as well, my CAA, that type of thing. Those are the Associate of Science in Firearms Technology degree, that's a 60 credit hour course, and the Advanced Gunsmithing Certificate, which is 32 credit hours. Those 2 have an option within your senior project of those 2 courses. You can choose one of our advanced armor courses, which we'll talk about in just a second here. So either of those 2 programs, or I guess both of those 2 programs, also include an advanced armor course should you choose that as your senior project. In addition to those 2 kind of big big programs for us. We have a non-credit gunsmithing certificate, which is really great for hobbyists, people who want to kind of do it on the side, that type of thing. And then we have a ballistics and reloading certificate, which is something that we've kind of developed with Gun Digest and are working. We are doing so in a partnership with Hornady. It includes a Hornady lock and load press as part of the program there. And then we have 3 advanced armor course options, AR-15, AR-10, 1911. Like I said, those can be taken as part of your degree-seeking programs, Associate of Science, and then that advanced gunsmithing certificate, or they can be taken standalone. However, if you're going to use your military benefits, a lot of our students are military students, TA, VA students. You have to select one of those 2 with the asterisk there that you see, the Associate of Science in Firearms Technology or the Advanced Gunsmithing Certificate. If you do have any questions about SDI, what we do, anything about the programs, feel free to give us a call. You'll get a lot of, we'll follow up with a link to this and everything like that. So you'll have our contact information, but sdi.edu or admissions@sdi.edu if you want to email us directly. Those are probably the easiest ways to get to us. So, Kip, I'd like to talk about you next, if that's okay with you.
That's fine.
So you are an SDI School of Firearms Technology instructor in basic ballistics, but that's not what we're going to talk about most tonight. We're going to mostly talk about you as a gunsmithing business owner. So I've put up a couple stats and credentials up there. Started gunsmithing at 14. All of these certifications, certified NRA instructor in quite a few different things. But just so that we're jumping along the process here, because I know we do have a lot of those questions, why don't you just go ahead and give us a little bit of a background on how you got started in the industry? Take us from the beginning at 14, what made you want to get into it, and then how you kind of developed American Gunsmithing into what it is currently.
Sure. It probably started actually before that. Like a lot of people that's out there, my dad and I used to go to the range and shoot a lot. My dad was a military marksman, and he started me out probably about 9, 10 years old. And I started out with a Ruger Mark I, and just loved guns and loved to shoot, and then got into hunting and things of that nature. And we had some very close friends of ours who Dave just happened to be a master gunsmith, and he worked for a company called American Wholesale, and he did all their repairs and warranty work. And he and his son, we became like just best of friends. So every weekend, either we were fishing or we were hunting, and Rick and I we were living in California at the time, so Rick and I never kind of really fit in, if you will. We both came from the eastern side of the United States and grew up with those kind of things, and out there it was a different world. So Dave would come home and bring different firearms home, and he'd say, okay, you guys want to go shoot this weekend? He'd tear it down, say, put it back together. And it really started with that, and the same with the reloading, and it just blossomed from there. It was something I always had an interest in, and all these years I just did my own stuff and got involved with a little bit of law enforcement, a little dignitary protection work, went into the private security field, and I always repaired the guys' guns and things of that nature on the teams. I was the armor for the teams and things like that. And then as I got later in life and moved up here to Tennessee, I was ready to change everything and do a different kind of thing, and as time would allow, I was able to go ahead and try to be open a gunsmith business. And it was something I was really wanting to do to actually approach my retirement. I'm 52 years old, so I said, this is something I'll be able to do as I get older, because I'm the type of person that I can't just sit in a rocking chair and do the retirement thing. So that's really how I got into this. And I've been very blessed. I can tell you this, it's a lot of hard work, but like everything else in life, it's hard work. And that's pretty much it, a synopsis. I mean, I know it sounds pretty simple, but it was just many years of wanting to learn. I mean, I would read every time a magazine article came out with something new in the firearms industry pertaining to firearms, I would read it. Was always like trying to upgrade my own pistols and rifles and shotguns and things of that nature. And I always had an interest in reloading. I became a certified NRA instructor in metallic cartridge reloading, shotgun shell reloading. I became a certified pistol instructor, personal protection in the home instructor. Got several certificates from just more than what we have listed here, but I'm not going to bore everybody with that. It's just one of those really cool things to get into, and then going into the business side of it was a whole different ball game, and there was a lot to learn there.
Oh, sorry, I was talking. I had put myself on mute. Yeah, that's
okay.
Here I am, Gavin. Nobody can hear me. Awesome. Yeah, and how do you now, Kip? I'm going to kind of put the ball in your court a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about how did you decide to get all these certifications? How did you talked about kind of from the beginning to the end here, but that's a lot of stuff. That's a lot of education. That's a lot of training. How do you make those decisions to go that far, with that specialization,
Wait, it's really actually kind of easy. A lot of this stuff, if you're working a full-time job, you can do this while you're working your job. The NRA offers several of these like instructor courses that you can take on the weekends, and then of course when you have a school like SDI, this allows you to do this in your spare time. So you can make those times. And if I could about SDI, I want to say that there's so much more coming than what's just been listed here today. And Zeke and several of the people involved in it are striving. We are all striving together to make this the best curriculum out there. And we, like you said, we work with veterans, we work with all kinds of people, and it's one of those deals. If you're really committed to it, it's really easy to do. It's like any other hobby that you might start out with. You're really into that hobby. You want to know everything about that hobby, whether it's a sport, golfing, whatever. Well, it's the same thing with gunsmithing. And you'll find that, the more you learn, and once people find out that you know this stuff, that they'll be come knocking on your door.
That's great. Good. Let me, I know it's still so early usually to get into Q&A, but I do have a ton of questions here. So let's kind of use those questions as launching points. And then if you have additional things to add or anything like that, you're the boss here tonight. Everybody's here to kind of pick your brain. So
Okay.
Let me start with, since we were just talking about education a little bit, this question is pretty pertinent. We have a guy email in a question that says, where should I look for an apprenticeship to make a name for my own shop? So I think that's almost two different questions, but where should I look for an apprenticeship to make a name for my own shop? Do you have any insights on that?
Sure. That's actually a good question. I know where they're coming from. The basic thing you're going to need to do first is get some education. You're going to need to take a course such as SDI, whether it's a beginning course or the advanced course. But the more knowledge you have to approach someone for an apprenticeship, the better off you're going to be. When you go into a gunsmith shop, gunsmiths are usually pretty busy, or before they're willing to really teach somebody to trade, they want to know that their time's not going to be wasted. They want to know that you're really dedicated to what you're there for. That you're not just somebody that just wants to learn a few things and go out and try to make a few bucks on them, that kind of thing. They want to know that you actually want to learn the art of gunsmithing. And one way to show that to them that you're serious is to go through a program and say, hey, I've done this, and I really want to get going, and I'd like to do an apprenticeship with you. And a lot of apprentices, they don't even get paid for it. They're just there because they want the experience and the knowledge that a experienced smith can pass down, because there is a lot of things. We can teach you everything you need to know from the books and from everything that how to do a lot of gunsmithing, but there's a lot of things you learn over time with actually putting your hands in the gun that just comes. And that's what the apprenticeships are for. And usually if you want to get an apprenticeship, you do that, then you start by writing letters to different gunsmiths or going into your local gunsmiths and talking to them and explain your situation, tell them about yourself and that you're dedicated. And, some of them will do it and some of them won't. It's just the kind of the nature of the beast.
Yeah, that's great. And I think I have a couple other questions here that kind of are along the same education and startup training type of deal. We talked about a little bit already, is it possible to learn gunsmithing at home while working on another career? You did mention that both with the NRA thing and with the SDI thing. Do you have any other tips or tricks on how to balance things?
Sure. You absolutely can learn at home. There's a lot of myths about this that say you have to go to one of the hard schools and this and that. You do not have to do that. You need to learn and focus on design and function when it comes to firearms. And you can do this at your own pace at home, and the instructors are there to help you. Like, I'm an instructor. You can email me anytime you want to when you're going through my course and ask me any questions. And I even tell my students they can call me, and I'll talk to them and help them with whatever it is they need help with, sometimes just answer questions. So, when you're dealing with somebody like SDI, you're going to get a lot of support. Now, I can't say that about every school out there because I have been through a few that they just don't, you're a number and that's it. They want your money and you either learn it or you don't. Well, we're not that way at SDI. So, yes, you can balance your work and your school at the same time. And the beauty of it is you can go at your own pace and you can, it's a lot of fun and there's a lot you can learn. And don't be afraid to ask your instructors. That's the main thing.
I think that is a really good point. A lot of people, in my opinion, I don't think utilize that quite enough. We have some really amazing instructors on staff.
We do.
And that's, as far as instructors go, and I guess mentors too, did you have anybody in your, past education life or when you were first starting out from a mentorship perspective that you think back on and think, oh man, I wouldn't be where I was today without this guy? Is that?
Oh, yes. Absolutely. My father's one of them. My father was an electrical engineer by trade. He worked in the space industry. He taught me my work ethics. He taught me to always give your 110% and do your best to be the best at anything you can do. And the other man, of course, was Dave Young, who was my friend's dad. He was a great, great mentor. He taught me so much. By the time I was 18 years old, I probably knew as much as a lot of seasoned gunsmiths. So Dave Young and my dad were probably the two biggest guys in my life.
Yeah, good. And I know that yours is a little, I would say it's a unique, you're coming from a unique background because of all the experience you had at such a young age. I know that not everybody has that. But I do think a lot of people that attend SDI and a lot of people that attend things like this type of webinar come from those passion backgrounds, those things where they're up and around guns all the time and they kind of know their stuff. So how do you take that passion and make that first step and say, okay, I think I'm ready to start this as an actual, this is what I want to do with my career? Is there a little light bulb that needs to go off? Let's say you get your education. What's that next step? What's the catalyst to getting into running your own business?
Okay, well, there's a few things you're going to have to do. Let's say you've gone through all your schooling, you're ready to go open that door, even if it's part-time, you're ready to go for it. The first thing you're going to need to do, and let me just point out first that every state's going to be a little different. I can only speak from Tennessee and the state that I'm in, but you need to check with all your local state and county regulations. You need to find out what's required to open a gunsmithing business or slash firearms, because there's a lot of people that may have both. That's the very first step you need to do. After that step, I would say the next step that you need to do is you're going to have to consider getting your FFL. Federal firearms law says to work on people's guns and charge money, you have to have an FFL. Now, there is a way that you can do that, and I'll go to that in a minute, where you don't have to do that step necessarily. But your next step is you're going to have your county and your city licenses, and you have to send it off with your FFL, okay, with your package to get that to receive your FFL. So those are your very basic first steps. And then the next step I would highly suggest, unless you're a super, super great guy with books and numbers and things, get a CPA. I'm not one of those people, so I have to rely on my CPA, and he's worth every penny I pay him.
Yeah.
And the next thing is you might want to consider an attorney just for depending on your state. We have some states out there, and I won't mention names, but most of us can probably figure out right off the top of the head who I'm talking about. Their states are not very gun friendly, so you're going to want to know what legally your state, what you can do in that state, because the federal firearms ATF says you can do one thing, but your state may say another. So you're going to need to look at that. And then from there, it's all about figuring out what your finances are. Are you going to get a building, or are you not going to get a building? Are you going to open one in your house, your garage? I mean, I've had a whole spectrum. I started out in a small shop, went to a bigger shop, went to an even bigger shop, and have actually reduced down to a smaller shop and building another shop, onto my property just to kill a lot of the overhead. So a lot of that you have to take into consideration as well, because depending on where you live, rent can be very, very, very high.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the other thing you're going to need is you're going to need some kind of liability insurance. Don't leave yourself hanging out there without some insurance. You're working on guns, so common sense. You're going to want to have some insurance to protect yourself and your work, and also, God forbid, but if something should ever happen and there was a theft or something and your customers' guns were taken, you don't want to be having to foot the bill for all that.
Sure.
And that's pretty much the basics to really get going. I know that's a lot to absorb.
Sure.
And
if you don't mind, Kip, we have some questions that kind of pertain to a lot of the things you just ticked off. So sure. One of them says, with what you just talked about, we had a guy write in, what are the suggested types of insurance to carry, and what coverage amounts do you suggest?
Okay. There's several different insurance companies out there, as you know. Some are firearm friendly, some are not. I have found, and I hate to give plugs, but I have found what works for me is the NRA.
Okay.
The NRA insurance, I'm very happy. I'm a supporter of the NRA, Second Amendment. I'm sure everybody else out there is. Yeah. But that's not why I do it. I'll be very honest. It was cost. And they actually are firearm friendly, and they work backwards to help you. And what you'll have to do is you have to assess like how much equipment you have, how many guns are you going to realistically be doing? Because if you're a huge shop that's doing lots of guns and turnover, you're going to need more insurance. But if you're a mom and pop shop, you're going to need less insurance. So they're really the ones you would want to discuss that more in depth with, and they'll be more than happy to figure out what's the best policy for you. And believe it or not, most of their policies, when it comes to the liability end, is usually $1 million or more to protect you from malfunction or if something goes wrong.
Right.
So, and it's actually pretty affordable. And when I had my biggest shop, I was only paying like $1,500 a year, and that's really cheap.
That's not bad for an entire business, firearms related.
No, they charged me. I'll be honest, they charged me like $600 down, and then it was like 15. A little bit more, but I would say maybe about $2,000 a year.
Sure.
On the rough side. So,
sure.
But that was about it, and then you're covered. You have that peace of mind to know that and that helps you do your job. But and I hope that answers it for him. But that would be the best thing to get with your insurance people, because they are really great people there, and they'll be happy to discuss anything with you they can. They'll help you every way.
Okay, and I just had another, a follow-up question just within the last couple minutes here that says insurance requirements, ? And Tom, if you want to expand on that, type back in and let me know exactly what you mean. But Kip, do you have any comments on insurance requirements?
Well, as far as I know, like I said, that depends on your state.
Sure.
Some states don't require you have insurance. ATF doesn't require you have insurance. But let's be realistic.
Right.
Common sense. Common sense is a litigious society out there, and if you want to, not that anybody's going to make a mistake, but to protect you from someone saying you made a mistake. Like for instance, if you do a job, for instance, on somebody, and for whatever reason they say it's your fault that this happened, you want to be protected.
Yeah. I would agree with that for sure. If you're going to have insurance to drive a car.
Sure. In any business, every business you have liability insurance just for slip and falls.
Right.
That's another thing too. If somebody's in your shop, you want to make sure you're covered in case they accidentally cut themselves on something. Because people will. Some people. Now, I've never had to deal with that. Knock on wood, because I have my clientele has been really great people, and you probably never will. But just in case, you know what I mean?
Yep. Absolutely. Let me ask you a couple questions about your experience with FFL. I've had a couple FFL questions here. Do you have any idea if a person would need an FFL to work from home as a gunsmith? I know that's a little bit different than what you're dealing with now, but...
Okay. This is a question that, there again, you would want to talk to your lawyer.
Sure.
Let me make clear that, myself and SDI are not here to give legal advice.
That's correct. That's exactly right.
So I don't want to give Zeke an ulcer if he's listening. So.
I'm sure he will.
But no, all seriously though, every one that I've ever talked to, let me just tell you how it was told to me by my ATF agent. If you're going to gunsmith and you're going to charge people money, you need to have your FFL.
That's how I've understood it as well in the past. And we do have a portion of our curriculum that goes over that. And additionally, we have a partnership with FFL123.com. They do almost like dummy-proof kits. And if you buy them on the SDI website, I believe you get a nice little discount. So if that's something for everybody who's been asking about FFL, if you do have additional questions about that, email them to me either on that webinar at sdi.edu, or you can email me directly, jennifer@sdi.edu. I'll get you in contact with one of the instructors and or get you information on how to get that FFL 123 kit. So if anybody has in-depth questions on FFL, shoot me an email and we'll try to get stuff taken care of.
Absolutely.
We do have a couple other ones here related to FFL. Which type do you recommend, given that the Type 7 requires a $2,500 per year fee to the Department of State? And I think I think you're right. Go ahead.
Well, when it comes to your FFL, that goes back to your business structure.
Right.
Are you wanting to be a gunsmith and a fireman, a firearm salesperson? If you are, then all you need is an 01. An 01 will cover you for gunsmithing and for firearm sales. You can do both in your shop underneath that FFL. If you're going to go 07 or manufacturing and things like that, then you're talking about a whole different ball game. And the person who asked that, I know, they understand what I mean. But to be a gunsmith, for instance, your 01 will cover you for all your gunsmithing needs, including machine guns. Now, let's get clear on this, though. There are some very specific rules with dealing with automatic weapons if they should come into your store. And some of those rules are you are to notify the FFL and the owner is to be there and you're to verify they have their stamp. That has to be with them also. And I'm not going to touch any more on that for liability reasons.
Sure.
There again, you can talk to FFL 123 and those guys because they've been, but we have a lot of people associated with SDI that's more savvy on that than I am because I am not an 07 and I am not a manufacturer.
Right.
And they are. If anybody has not checked out SDI, look and see who all is involved with SDI, and I think you'll be impressed. You've probably seen a lot of them on television.
Right. Yeah, and just a disclaimer again, Kip is a non-attorney spokesperson. So anything that...
No, I am not.
You're
I am not an attorney spokesperson.
Right. Okay, cool. Let's...
Far from it.
Right. Let's go ahead and kind of move in a different direction here. Oh, here's another good one from a starting up your business perspective. We'll get away from FFL. What incorporation structure is best for a gunsmithing business, like an LLC, a sole proprietorship, incorporation, that type of thing? Also, is special business insurance required for a gunsmithing business? We talked about that a little bit. So let's at least do the structure that has worked for you in the past.
Okay. Yeah, that there again, you're going to want to talk to your CPA.
Sure.
That's depending on how you're wanting to structure, but I am a sole proprietor. And that is how I'm registered. That's how I work under, and that's how I pay my taxes and everything else. And that works great for me. And it has been flawless. I've had no problems. The IRS has been happy, and as long as the IRS is happy, then I'm happy, happy, happy.
Right.
So, there again, that's I know I'm being real short on it, but really I'm not qualified to really answer that. Your tax person, your CPA, that's the person that you're best to discuss that with, and how you want to structure your business. But like I said, for me, a sole proprietor has been awesome.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that will have to do with your personal standings as well. If you have a spouse who's a business owner, you may be better off doing one way over the other. So I think you're right, Kip. I think that's definitely something that, I mean, that's people's jobs. CPAs are supposed to know how to do that kind of thing. So, but yeah, that helps. I think a lot of gunsmiths are sole proprietors, and that's how a lot of the people that I've spoken to in the past, a lot of our graduates who have started up small shops and everything like that, have at least started in that sole proprietorship type of position. But
it's real easy too. I mean, there's nothing to it. I know this sounds like, to the person out there who's thinking about this, boy, this is a lot of stuff I didn't know. Listen, it's not as scary as you think it is. That's why I tell you to go to your CPA, because they make it so much easier on you. And you hear all the horror stories if you don't know these answers, like I did, and I'm like, oh my God, what have I got myself into? And once I did this, it's like, oh man, this is nothing to it. And now I just turn in my paperwork every month. The CPA handles it. At the end of the year, we file the taxes. I have no problems. I mean, it's been no headaches, no nothing. And that's why I say, consult with them. They're the better ones to do that with. But like you said, most gunsmiths that I know that have their own gunsmith shop, and I know some that have some bigger than mine, they're sole proprietors.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, good. So let's, in another part of starting up this business, a lot of people have written in with questions regarding initial startup costs and initial startup machinery that you're going to need. How much should people expect to spend or save before they start this type of business? And what are the absolute essentials, or even a wish list as far as machinery goes when you're starting up a gunsmithing business?
Well, that's a really good question. I get this all the time. In fact, we shot a video at SDI. If you go on to YouTube and look under the Sonoran Desert Institute channel, you'll see a video with me in it called Introduction to Gunsmithing. And there we talk about a lot of this, Zeke and I do, so I won't go into a lot of it. If you guys go to that link, you'll answer all those questions. But I'm going to go into it here real quick. And the answer is, you don't need as much as you think you do. Okay, you need some basic hand tools, and we cover all that in the video. Common sense. You're going to need some screwdrivers. You're going to need some sockets. You're going to need some light hammers. You're going to need good punches. You're going to need, maybe a Dremel tool, or a small drill press or a large drill press. Those are really the basic things that you need to get going. Remember that, gunsmithing is an art. Gunsmithing is finesse. And when you first get started in this business, I doubt very seriously you're going to be doing a lot of machine work and doing a lot of building custom rifles and things of that nature until you get a lot more experience on you. You're going to start out by doing repairs. And that's where you're going to build your name and your bread and butter. And that's why I encourage you to keep continuing on your education to learn more. Now, those of you who have a machine background, then you probably already have a lathe and a mill and things of that nature. But those are goals that you work into. That's not what you're starting out with. In gunsmithing, we all want to just do it all, and that's almost impossible. That's a lot to put on your plate for one person, and for especially a person just starting out. So my suggestion is, when you start out, especially if you're starting out from home, you start out with just getting your basic hand tools, and you start out by doing simple repairs. You start by doing things of that nature, maybe a little Cerakoting, a little Duracoating. But your repairs is what you really want to focus on, because once you learn how to diagnose and how guns function, You're going to have guns that's going to come in, and trust me, this will happen to you. You're going to have a customer that brings a gun in there that you cannot go to YouTube and find on YouTube. You cannot go and find schematics for it anymore, and you're going to have to really search for parts. And that's where your skills are going to start to get honed in. I've been very blessed that I've gotten connected up with lots of gunsmiths around the country and other parts companies that I know where to go to find very rare parts. And you will too. This will come to you as you learn more, because SDI, they teach you this. Okay? So this is another reason that I play at SDI. Also, as you get in the circle of gunsmiths, you start getting to know people, you're going to find that it's a very tight-knit group. And we're willing to help each other. If they like you, they're going to help you. If they don't like you, they're not going to help you. I'll tell you that. But, yeah, well, it's like anything else, you know. But seriously, though, like you're showing some slides now, all of those were done that you see, especially now that are coming up on the screen. Those were all stuff that I did starting out.
Yeah.
And we're going to go into that. Now, some of this is from, you'll see on there, is from when I had one of the bigger buildings, and it just, I tell you, the overhead was just too much. But,
sure.
But like there you're showing the pink LCP, that was done right there at my house. So this is how you get going, guys. This is doing the simple stuff first and doing the repairs, because trust me, there are millions and millions of guns out here now. And with the last 8 years, we have sold a record number of firearms in this country. Now you think about that for a minute. The average person who's been buying these guns, they barely know how to even clean their guns, and most of them, well, I won't say most of them, but lots of them don't even know how to do that. So where do they go? Right. They're going to come to the gunsmiths, and that's where you guys need to focus your attention on. Because listen, I'll be honest with you, I've got friends that are on TV, I got friends that build machine guns all day and all that, and I'll tell you what, the average gunsmith will probably not reach that level. What I'm here to talk about tonight is the average, everyday gunsmithing job. And that is a job that you guys are going to find that most people are looking for. Right. And if you're the person and you got a great reputation, they're going to come to you. Trust me. You know, it's like I tell people, if you do something great for somebody's gun, they'll tell 10 people. But if you do something wrong, you mess their gun up, they're going to tell everybody they know. So dedicate yourself and be proud. Don't think you have to get out there and say, well, I immediately have to go turn barrels, or I have to thread for suppressors, and I need to thread for muzzle brakes and things. No, you don't. No, you don't. And another thing too, while we're saying this, be very honest with your customer. Be very honest with the customer. If there's something you don't know, just tell them, hey, I haven't learned that yet, or I haven't had the opportunity, or I don't have the equipment to do it, but I'll find you someone who does, and farm it out. Right. Machine shops are great people to get to know.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I have some very close friends of mine, and I'll give them a plug because they're part of the SDI family, and that's Ackless Designs down in Louisiana that was formerly Red Jacket Firearms. Yep. And everybody probably knows who they are. And Zach is a good friend of mine, and Joe.
Oh yeah, I have pictures of you and Zach on here somewhere.
I'm not surprised. And Joe and Charlie, and they're great guys down there. And if I needed something seriously done, I can send it down there tomorrow and have it done, and those guys would take care of it. And that's the way this firearms community is. It's like earlier you showed a picture on there with me standing by a pickup truck, and there was a girl sitting between us. That was Beth Baca of A Million Bombs Against Gun Control. Yep. And Beth is just a sweetheart. She's a great person. She's a great friend. And in fact, her husband is attending SDI.
I was just going to mention that. I thought I knew that name.
Yes, Ryan Baca is a close friend of American Gunsmithing, and probably he's really more of an apprentice to me, and also probably in the future he's already part of the American Gunsmithing family, but we may be doing some business together down the road in another state. So let's just let it go with that. But there again, I would have never met all these people if it wasn't for great friends of mine who opened the door. And let me tell you something. Zach was one of those people, and Zach is the kind of guy that if you don't know what you're doing, he's not going to, introduce you to anybody.
Right.
And
sure.
And that is just how it blossomed. And in a few minutes I'll go into how to get going as a gunsmith, finding clients and all that. But
yeah.
I kind of rambled on here a little bit about this.
And let me jump in here too, since only because you mentioned ACLIS. A lot of people, when we were talking about apprenticeships and mentorships and that type of thing, a lot of people realized that question had been teed up for me, and I didn't even talk about what SDI does on that front. So we do have, and thank you for everybody that wrote in and did my job for me here. But we do have these things called field studies. These are somewhat new in the last couple months here. Really, really cool. We just had our first guy, Mitchell Hill, complete his field study with ACLIS. And ACLIS, I know, is looking for another field study student. If you're a current student listening and you are at all interested in a field study, which is essentially an apprenticeship, a 2 to 4 week apprenticeship, on location, at no cost to the student. You have to pay to get yourself there. You have to pay to live there for the 2 to 4 weeks. But other than that, there's no additional tuition or anything like that. If you are at all interested in that, please email me or email fieldstudy@sdi.edu. and we'll get you information on that. I know that Joe Moe down at ACLIS is looking for a new field study person immediately, and I believe we have 13 different field study locations available right now in, I want to say, 8 different states. We've got Texas, we've got Pennsylvania, we've got Ohio, we've got Louisiana and Georgia and all sorts of places. So if that is all, Tennessee, there you go. yeah, I'm sure Kip would love to have you on site as well. So if you're at all interested in that, these field studies are really, really neat opportunities. Kip, you haven't had one yet, right? Have you?
No, not yet. We haven't. We just started getting this going with Zeke
they're brand new. So.
Right, and in fact, I'm working with a gun store currently. We're going to be setting up I don't want to go too much into this, but we're going to be setting it up to do this even more. Mm-hmm. So let's just let it go with that for now. But yes, there's so many great field studies out there we have now. I mean, listen, I don't know if I should tell this one or not.
Oh, I don't know. What are you going to tell?
Well, I know that they came on board. Zeke got in some touch with some friends of mine and some people that he knew. And let's just say this way. How would you guys out there like to do a field study at the probably best known firearms manufacturer of the .50 caliber? Enough said.
Oh.
In Tennessee, that's and it's not me, folks.
Yep. I just got a message that says, "Hey, I'm down."
Yeah, I'm sure, and but everybody that we have, I mean, let me give a shout out to Eric down at Iraqi 888 down at Moss Pond. They do a field study. Eric is an awesome guy.
He is.
He is the only. I told Eric when I met him at the SDI party in Nashville. I watch a lot of YouTube, and there's so much stuff on YouTube that I would tell everybody out there: don't fall for this stuff. Don't do what a lot of these guys are doing, because even though they look like they know what they're doing, I have seen some stuff on YouTube that under ATF law is actually altering a firearm. And that could get you in some serious, serious trouble at ATF. So stay away from that YouTube stuff unless you really know who they are.
Right.
But I will tell you this. Hickok 45, Iraqi 888, which is Eric, but also Moss Pond, those guys are really good. And Eric has never put nothing but a really good video out there. So I have to give him perks. And of course, go to SDI.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, thanks for that.
In fact, you'll find all those guys on the SDI channel. So.
That's exactly right. Yeah, we are, and Eric, we're going to try to get in to do a webinar sometime over the next couple months too. And
good deal. Yeah.
And if anybody out there is a YouTube buff and watches channels often, we've done stuff with the Military Arms channel, and then Plinkster 22 is one of our instructors. So
yes, he is. and he's a
So
good guy
yeah,
too.
it's
So.
been fun to kind of pump that new blood in there. But
Well, I think what, talk about this is good too, because I think people are starting to realize if all these people that you know and heard of are getting involved with SDI, what does that tell you all?
right, right.
We believe in SDI. We're out to make SDI the best there is.
Yeah, we'll take it.
Yeah,
Well,
we're all dedicated to it. I can tell you right now, Zeke is definitely dedicated to it, and I know Paul is too.
yeah.
For those who don't know who Paul is, he's the owner of the school, one of the owners, and in fact, all of us at SDI are into what we're doing. I mean, you could call the school. The girls are awesome that you're going to talk with and stuff. Everybody will do everything they can to help you out. They really will.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can say even in the last couple of years here, we've grown exponentially, and everybody on staff is awesome, loves what they do, loves the school. So before this becomes even more of a love fest for SDI,
Right.
let's go back. I do have a couple more questions to get to.
Sure.
Let's go with, I have a bunch of questions here kind of about specialization or what to expect. So let's do this one first, because this was the very first question that we got in via chat. So Orville, I'm sorry that this has taken so long. Is there any kind of industry standard on charging for work? For example, do you charge by the hour, by the job, or a mixture?
Okay, you do a mixture. At least that's how I do it, and that's what I found most gunsmiths do. It's kind of a lot of people don't want to tell you this, but I hate to say it, but if you shop around on the net, you can kind of get a feel of what everybody's charging.
Sure.
But what I would tell you to do is in your general area, okay, if you live in a little town, USA, you know what your demographic is. You know what kind of money people are making in that town. So don't price yourself out where they can't afford to come to you.
Right.
Don't give yourself away, but don't overcharge so much that they just won't come. Okay, because would you like to have 100 guns come in there at this rate, or would you like to have 4 come in a year at that rate? That's my opinion on it.
Yeah, you got to
know your demographic.
Yep, know your audience. That's right. Know your demographic. Know your
Absolutely.
Audience. How about, do you feel it's important to specialize in a particular area of gunsmithing, such as handguns versus rifles versus shotguns, that type of thing?
Okay, yes. I mean, everybody has their favorite of what they may like to do. I like working on everything, okay? And I'm glad I'm that way, because when you have a gunsmith shop and you're a gunsmith, that's what you're going to get, is everything. Trust me.
Right.
You're going to get things in there that you probably wouldn't even expect to see, but you're going to get everything in there. You're going to get everything from muzzle loaders all the way up to the sky's the limit. You just don't know what's going to walk through your door. I've had guns come off the Civil War battlefield into my shop.
Cool. Very cool. Along those same lines, do you personally see more firearms maintenance or modification customers?
Both.
Okay.
That's real simple. In this day and time, with all the cool products that are coming out, you're seeing lots of maintenance is definitely a big thing. There again, going back to what I was telling you about all the guns out there, there's so many people out there that would much rather bring their firearm to you once or twice a year, have you totally strip it down, clean it, and put it back together for them, and they're happy to pay you for it. Now, granted, you don't want to charge tons of money, but you don't want to waste your time either. So, when I say a total strip, I mean a total strip, ripping that gun all the way down. And I tell my shooters that, like pistol shooters, for instance, that they shoot heavy twice a year, maybe bring it in and get that done. But, I try to show them at least how to field clean it, just to help keep it clean so they can shoot in between. And trust me, Zeke will tell you this too real fast, but he's seen a couple of things that when he was filming it, we have seen it all. I've seen everything from old field rust, from dust to even bugs that were left in guns. I even had guns come in that hadn't been cleaned since 1940.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, that's a true story. We got film to prove it. Ask Zeke.
Oh my gosh. What about, I just had another one for you. Hold on one second. Let me find it again.
Well, while you're getting that, going
Yeah.
back to the modification too, yeah, the mods are really popular now because with all the Trijicon sites and things of that nature and new gimmicks that's coming out for guns, people want them on their guns, so that should be enough said right there.
Yeah, definitely. And how much of gunsmithing involves troubleshooting, would you say?
Lots of it. There's a lot of, if you find a simple broken part, hey, that's simple. You can figure that out. But there's a lot of times the gun's going to come in doing several things, and several things could cause that gun to do it. Let's say for feed jams, for instance. There could be a lot of things that cause a feed jam. So you're going to want to know the system. That's where system and functionality comes in. That's why Zeke will tell you, I'm a big pusher on that, and Zeke and I are talking about doing more of that for SDI. You really need to know the systems, because once you know the systems, and when I say systems, all guns are based on two or three different patterns of how they're made. John Browning, for instance, is one of the big leaders on several people have copied for years on how their guns work. So once you understand systems, you pretty much can have any gun put in your hand and can figure out what's wrong with it.
Right. Good. We did basic equipment. I've gotten a lot of questions on promotion and promoting your business. So let me stick to one of these here. Let's do one. Is there anything specific, such as repair, cleaning, etc., that you would put a lot of focus on when advertising your new gun shop that would be in demand for a customer? So I think we're talking like high traffic, everybody's going to need it stuff. Is that right, Shane? If you're still on, let me know if I got that wrong.
Well, advertising is a tricky business that I still haven't figured out.
Sure.
There's so many people out there who can tell you different ways to do it. But what I would say is, don't advertise. Let me just say this: do not advertise anything that you can't do.
Right.
Don't promise something you can't follow through with. Just be honest and tell people what you can do. If your strong points is repair and customizing, then repair and customizing. You don't have to say a lot in ads to actually get what people are looking for is what's in it for me.
Right.
Okay. So if I say, like for instance, my slogan is, I do it all, I do it right, 100% guaranteed. That's my slogan. And I put that in my ad. And that's pretty much all I have to do, because trust me, if there's something specifically that they're looking for, they'll call you. They'll ask you, hey, can you do Cerakote, or can you thread a barrel, or can you do this or do that? They'll ask you, trust me. They're not shy about asking you.
Right.
But the trick is to get them to call you.
Right. Yeah. And shoot, I just had it. Sorry, I'm losing my touch here. Hold on. No, that's custom firearms. Yeah. Are there any things that you would do or not do specifically to promote your gunsmithing shop? And I think that's general, but
that's a tough question. You have to, everybody wants you to advertise with them. Everybody's got anybody who does it's in the advertising business, they're going to tell you, do this and do that. And I made those mistakes. I bought and advertised things and stuff, and some worked out great, some did not.
Sure.
It's a hit and miss. I say when you're starting out, stay with your local paper. Stay within your local community. Don't try to go national campaign when you're just starting out, because it's not going to, it's not going to work. But cater to your local, like you said before, your audience. Well, that's a great way to put it. Know your community, know their needs. If you're in a community where you know that you have a huge hunting society there, then cater to your hunters. Go to their gun clubs. Go to their events, the turkey organizations and the deer banquets and things like that they have every year to fundraise for. I do Friends of the NRA. I do the National Wild Turkey Federation. I do different hunting organizations, as well as gun club. We have huge trap and skeet. And then of course your firearm shooters, like your pistol shooters and stuff like that. That's a great way. When they have an event, jump in there, go set up a table, put your thing out, pass out cards, and give them what you can give them. Like if you can't afford money, give them gift certificates.
Right.
Gift certificates is a great way to, because everybody needs some gunsmithing.
Yeah.
And that's a great way for you to do it cheap and get your name out there.
Absolutely. Okay, cool. Have you done anything with social media? We have a guy asking about bang for your buck when it comes to social media, but I know that some gunsmiths do that and some don't. So have you anything in that realm?
You know, I have tried, and I don't want to go too much into that. Let me just say that I had one website put up, and it's been a disaster. I can't stand it. But I'm not knocking websites.
Sure.
A friend of mine who has a Smith shop up in Maine, he's got a great site. So don't just check out the people you're going to do business with. That's what I want to tell you, because a lot of times it doesn't work out that well, and they may put you on a thing where you hardly even get anybody to look at it. So you want to know that they know what they're doing. That's number one. As far as YouTube, I think YouTube's a great way to do some advertising for your business, Twitter, all that. And I'm still learning all this stuff. I mean, I've got friends in the fire who's like, come on, man, you know, come on.
Sure. Sure.
But I can tell you, like, Facebook has been great for me.
Yeah.
I have to say, Facebook has been one of those things. It's real popular. It's been Twitter's a good way to go. I'm still learning all about the Twitter thing and Instagram and all these others that are out there. But yeah, use social media if you can. Just know that whoever you hire to do that for you, if you do that, really is legit, and you can usually find out. Ask for references, man. I've learned that's one thing I've learned. Ask for references.
Right.
Now, you know, Beth does a lot of my stuff, Beth Baca.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, she's awesome, and she has helped me immensely.
Right. And some of that social media stuff is stuff that you don't have to pay for anyway, but everything takes time, so I think there's a trade-off there.
Yeah. I think your word of mouth is good. Like, if you do Facebook, your word of mouth is going to spread, and all of a sudden you're going to start getting likes from everywhere.
Right.
And I've got likes from all over the world, and I have no idea how these people know who I am.
Right. Cool. That's a cool thing.
Yeah, it is.
I know we're kind of out of time, but if you have a couple more minutes, I'll try to slam some of these questions in.
Sure. Listen, I'm here for as long as you need me to be here.
Well, and I thank everybody else. We've had awesome audience participation tonight, so thanks everybody for your attention. We've had a couple questions in about initial inventory. There seems to be this question about like a magic number of initial inventory when you're starting up. Any ideas on that?
Well, when they say inventory, if you're talking about parts and stuff, I started with nothing.
Okay.
I'll be very honest with you.
And I think that is what they're talking about, parts and retail. So.
Okay, just order what you need. Okay.
Yep.
I'm pretty proud. I run a debt-free business. I didn't fall for all the loans and things like that. What I will tell you this though is if you're going to do it for yourself, stay by yourself. Don't let other people into your business that can influence or possibly take control of your business. Stay on your own and make your own decisions, and you will do a lot further in the long run. As far as the initial thing, I just ordered the parts that I needed. It's not out of the realm to ask if you don't have the money to be able to afford the parts when you're doing a repair. Ask the customer if they can prepay for the part, especially if you're ordering parts. We have learned to, a lot of customers, they prepay for their parts because sometimes people won't pick up the part and you're stuck with it. So,
right.
And you can always use that to throw in your box for down the road too. So you really don't need a whole lot of that. Really what you need is knowledge. And then from there, just get your name out there, because once you start doing 4 or 5 people, they're going to go tell people, and then they're going to bring a couple of people back or a person back, and it just starts growing. It takes time. Be patient. It takes time. Don't be in a hurry to go out and get a commercial thing. In fact, I don't recommend it. If you can stay on your own property where you have no overhead and you can build a building or whatever, then that's the way to go.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you just have a real big shed, you can do a lot of great gunsmithing in there. And one of the best gunsmiths I know, he has never done anything but that, and he's considered one of the best in America. So
cool.
That should tell y'all something.
Yeah, absolutely. How about
put the money in your pocket?
See? Right. How about, I've had a couple questions regarding almost like business add-ons. So What portion of your business is Dura or Cerakote in rebluing? What about hydrographics? Like, is hydrographics becoming big, or is Cerakote better? Caustic bluing, a lot of stuff like that. Do you want to talk about any of that?
Okay. Bluing is a very expensive thing to get into. You're going to need about, probably two grand or whatever it is now. And hot caustic bluing is only good for certain guns. That's a big myth. You think, okay, I'm going to get a bluing system and I'll be able to blue any gun. That's not true. There's a lot of old guns out there, Winchester 94s or certain ones of them. There's some old Colts. There's some old Smith & Wessons. Because of their nickel steel and things like that, you cannot blue them. If you do, you're going to be buying some guns. And so if you want to go hot caustic, it's a thing. You can make some money doing that, but it's an expensive thing to get into. That's why you don't see a lot of gunsmiths who do it anymore. Now, I'm not saying not do it. I'm saying work up to that level. That's one of those things you work up to. I wouldn't suggest you run right out and do that.
Right.
Okay? I would suggest that you learn how to do other ways of touch-ups and things of that nature. You can always farm that out, okay, and still make a profit with it. Cerakote and Durakote, I get them. Cerakote is the hot thing now, without a doubt. Durakote was, but Cerakote is the hot thing. Cerakote, you need to know how to paint. Now, they have a school. The school is not cheap, but they teach you how to do it properly, how to mix and things of that nature. Fortunate for me, in my background, I used to spray like motorcycles and things like that, so I understand how to mix paint and things of that nature, so I understand where they're coming from with that. And if you have that kind of automotive background or motorcycle background, you'll be able to do that a lot. But there's some things with Cerakote you need to know. You have to have a blast cabinet. You have to have an oven. You have to have your Cerakote stuff. And the Cerakote's not cheap. So there are some costs there that may or may not be right for you. You'll just have to look into it. Durakote is an easy thing to get into. It's an affordable thing to get into, and it's still popular. Hydro dipping, absolutely. We do a program at SDI again.
Yep.
For those of you who don't know, we use Dip Wizard. It's one of the easiest kits out there to do, and I'm telling you, it's not as hard as you think it is. It's can be profitable. I mean, if you notice that, a lot of manufacturers now, they're sending guns right out of the factory. They've been dipped. So, yes, that's a good one to go into. So I would say bluing I would put on the last of the priority. Mm-hmm. Durakote, Hydro Dip, Cerakote, those are the things I would look at maybe to get into. And like I said, you'll figure out real fast how to price your customer, because first of all, it's a lot of time in Cerakote. There's a lot of prep, and that's the same with bluing. You're going to put a lot of. It's not the bluing process that makes the barrel and all that look good. It's the prep. So you're going to need tools. You're going to need other things, and you may not be ready for that right off the bat. Like I said, concentrate on repairs and concentrate on learning the guns and the systems, because that right there is going to be worth your time and gold, because your average customer is going to come in with a repair or a complaint about a shotgun or something of that nature. Yes, you will get Cerakote customers. Yes, you will get Durakote. You'll get bluing. But I tell you this, out of the course of a year, I have probably only had 10 people call and ask for bluing. So that's not a whole lot.
Right. Right. Okay. And
considering what it costs.
Right. Sure.
Well, anybody, if you shop Brownells, you'll see what I mean. It's like $2,000 something for a system, a basic system, and then your chemicals are very expensive. They're usually about $140 a bucket, which sounds like a lot, but it's really not. You'll go through one of those buckets pretty quick, and there's a lot of maintenance that has to come in with maintaining the pH balances and stuff. And then, folks, you have to dispose of that stuff somewhere, and if you're not aware of that thing called the EPA, you will.
Yeah.
It's not just you just don't throw that stuff down the drain. So.
Right, exactly. Yeah, Thomas Miller says hazmat. That's it.
Yes.
This, along the same lines, what about doing reloading for the business for extra income? What's your opinion?
Okay, to do reloading, you're going to need your FFL. You'll need they have a license for that. You'll need that. Reloading there again is a high liability aspect that I decided not to get into. Mm-hmm. Now, that's not to say that you can't make money doing it and that you wouldn't be good at it. You may be one of those people that's really excellent at reloading and will have no problems. But keep in mind, you're dealing with ammo. So,
right.
There's a whole bunch of regulations that you're going to have to follow to get into that, including with the ATF.
Okay. Speaking of ATF, how's your experience with them in regards to cleaning and repairing NFA items? Not to manufacture, modify, just clean and repair. Is there a special
Never had a problem.
required? Okay. Okay, cool.
Never have had a problem. I have one of the greatest ATF agents that has come to my house to set me up originally, and we ended up being friends. If I have any questions, I can call him. I have not found the ATF to be any kind of a nightmare or anything. As long as you do what they say and follow the rules, I've never had a problem. Never.
Cool. Okay. I have a question here just to ship. I think this is an important thing to cover at least a little bit. Thomas writes, have you ever had a bad experience with a customer and how did you resolve it?
Oh my God, yes. You're going to have some people come into your store that for whatever reason you cannot make them happy.
Yep.
You're going to have people come to your store that have attitudes. You're going to have some, and it doesn't happen very often, but it does. Now, I have never had anyone come into my store, knock on wood, that's ever complained about my work. I had one kid one time who, well, actually, no, I take that back. I did have one. And we did exactly what he asked us to do, and it didn't work out like he thought it was. And we resolved it with him. I mean, it really wasn't no big deal. I gave him a little bit of his money back and just basically sent him down the road. And then as he left, he realized and told me, yeah, it was my fault. I shouldn't have done that.
So, that's nice that he actually said that.
Yeah, he told me, he said, my dad told me the same thing you did. I should have never done that. And what it was, he had a gun, and he wanted these certain mounts put on it. We put it on there, and when he put his scope on it, he bent his scope because they were the wrong ones. We told him that, but he insisted. So, he learned a lesson. But he wasn't that bad. But no, you'll have those customers every once in a while. They may just come in just because they're angry that day, and you just have to try to keep your composure and smile. Remember, because this is what I told my guys, Justin, even though they may make you mad, just be nice.
Right.
Just be nice. If you have to forcefully ask them to leave, do it as nice as you can, because the customer who's standing there listening to all this, that's watching and observing this, may say, and 9 out of 10 times I did, I said, God, what a jerk that guy was. I said, yeah, but you get that. You just blow it off like that. That makes you look better, a lot better.
Yeah, I think so too. And I have another question about customers, but in a different way. What do you do about the customer that sucks up to an hour or half hour or, hour and a half of your time shooting the breeze? Those guys that saunter in with nothing to do.
That's part of the business.
Yeah.
There's ways around it, and you'll learn to do it. Sometimes you just have to politely say, well, I'd love to sit around and talk to you some more about it, but I've really loaded back here. I got to get back to work. So I got to get this gun out today before 4 o'clock or whatever. And usually they're pretty cool about saying, oh, yeah, okay, I'll see you later, But, yeah, you're going to have those. You'll have regulars. If you have a store where you sell firearms, especially, you'll have the looky-loo guys that come in that just want to talk firearms. So you have to kind of be prepared for that, but you just have to tactfully, in a very nice way, say, hey, I got to go.
Right. Get out of my town.
Well, yeah.
Just kidding. Okay, here are some smaller items that people might be wondering about. Thomas writes, what do you suggest for firearms transaction records, like a bound book or an e-book? Do you have any systems in place for that kind of thing? How do you do that?
Sure. The ATF requires that I know some guys that you could go to any Walmart. Well, I hated to plug them. Well, I guess I just did.
Right. Wow.
But you could go to any retail store and get like a log book that has all the lines and stuff. You can use one of those, but I actually use mine, and I'm going to give them a plug. In fact, I have it sitting right over here by me. There's a guy that's called RK Enterprises. I'll say it again, RK Enterprises. And his phone number, if I could give it out, just is 805-687-1416, and tell him American Gunsmithing College, so he'll give me a price break. No, I'm kidding.
Aha!
But anyway, he actually does a gunsmith record book. It's all acquisition and deposition, and the ATF loves it. And every time they've looked at mine, they said, hey, man, this is great. This is just how we want it. And it has one side of the page, it has the acquisition where you take everything in, and then the disposition on the other side of the book, and it's all lined out where you just go straight across, and you put in, I took it from this customer, what kind of gun it was, and then on this side was returned back to this customer, and a memo slot that returned or repaired, however you want to put it. And that works great, and it's 100% headache free.
Right. Cool. Very cool. And then there was another one here. How about a layout? How do you lay out your shop?
Well, everybody's different. Well, that's kind of hard. In fact, maybe me and Zeke need to do a video on that for the future. But
ooh, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, layout is pretty much how you want to set it up. My personal layout is I have my bench, and then I have behind me I have a smaller work table which has drawers that I got from a famous department store by a famous tool name. And then I have a regular workbench over next to it, and then in between those I have my toolboxes. So, because that's where I do the majority of my stuff. Mm-hmm. So I have my gun vise there, and I have my barrel vise there. I have just went blank. My regular vise is there as well. So that's typically where I work, my normal work area there. Now down further, I have things like my small 1-inch belt cylinder, which I highly recommend everybody have because you'll use that a lot in gunsmithing. Just a little bench top. And then I have also on that same one, I have a mini drill press, and I have my main drill press, and then I have a mini lathe that I use quite often for making little screws and things of that nature. But there again, I can do a little bit of machine work. So, but if you can't do that, don't worry about that yet. But if you want to get started, just talking about that real quick, if you want to get started in doing some little basic machine work, I recommend getting one of those little mini lathes. And I'll tell you, it's great for doing like little screws and firing pins and things of that nature. Sure. So that being said, but that's pretty much how I have that set up. And then of course I have some other tools, like I have a bandsaw and a big disc sander with a long belt sander that I use for like recoil pads and things of that nature and stock work. I have a chop saw for different things, because that comes in handy when you're cutting off stalks and things. But pretty much I work out of a very basic shop. You don't need a lot of that stuff. Like I said, down the road, you may want to get more experienced and get machine shop work and learn to do machine work, and then you can get into your barrel threading and things like that. But trust me, you're not just going to jump right into that. You're going to have to go to a machine shop school and learn how to be a machinist.
Sure.
So that's why I said you can farm a lot of that out to a local machine shop, and it's no problem for them to do that. This is what they do every day on a daily basis, whether it's a rifle barrel or a bolt. They can do it, so.
Sure. I know we're running over here, but it seems like everybody's still on, pretty much. So
that's fine.
I have a couple of questions on security. We've got one guy who says he's going to run his he is going to run his gunsmithing shop on his property, but located in a separate building from the house. What security measures do you focus on?
Well, there's always ADT. No, if you don't want to go that route, everybody's going wireless now. You can even go to Walmart and buy wireless systems with cameras that run off your PC. Yeah. So there's lots of things you can do that way. I know about every alarm company now has them. I mean, I even seen one now that's advertised on CD. You order the thing off television, and I think it runs off your PC. I'm not sure, but yeah, there's a lot of ways to do it without it costing you a fortune. Mm-hmm. And basically you're doing that for the insurance anyway. But it's also great. Like the one at Walmart. Oh, there I go again, naming names. But
boy, twice in one night, Kip.
I'm telling you, man, they need to give me some price raises.
You secretly love them.
Oh, I guess so. I guess I'm like all the other Americans before we all go shopping. But seriously though, a lot of those department stores do have those wireless systems, and you can go that route. or you can use a different company, one of the name brand companies. I mean, everybody's got it, so it's just pretty much what your budget wants to do. But yes, to answer his question, I would recommend you get one this day and time. If nothing else, if you can get pictures of the faces of the guys that's doing it, it'll also help you with your insurance claim.
Mm-hmm.
So
sure,
it gets you some cheaper insurance too.
Cool. How about a type of security cabinet? What type do you recommend? ATF approved? Any ideas?
Okay, ATF does not require you have one.
Okay.
Now, I know that's going to shock a lot of people. Common sense says what you need. A basic gunsmith safe is great. You know, when I say gunsmith safe, a basic firearm safe. A lot of you probably have one in your house already. So you can use that, okay? But I'll say this, ATF doesn't require that you have to, they say you have to secure everything. They do not define how. So common sense tells you you need a safe, okay? If all you have is, say, a Sentinel cabinet, yeah, that's okay. I would probably keep it in my house, you know, somewhere where I have a little more security, like my .44 Magnum.
Right.
But all kidding aside, I will tell you this: I would have two. I would have one for my personal firearms and one for my customers' firearms. ATF says that you know, you have to tag everything. So you want to keep your customer guns away from your personal guns, pretty much.
Okay.
So I would say, yeah, but yeah, he can start with that. But you know, you can get gun safes actually pretty cheap now. You don't need a big, huge one yet. I mean, hey, get a smaller one to start with. You know, a regular lockable, good gun safe.
Yep.
I think you can get them for around $200 to start. So if you got one that size, okay, and down the road and you start making money, then you can afford to get a bigger one.
Yep.
Or get another small one, you know. So that's what I would do. Don't think you have to go out and just have the best of everything right now, because guys, you really don't want to overextend yourself too much, because you're going to find out that gunsmithing tools and things that is very expensive. You know, there's a certain company out there. By the way, I guess I could give them a plug because they give our students a discount. That's Brownells. So that's your number one source to find a lot of things, and they give our students a discount.
Yep.
So,
yeah, that's right. Exactly.
So, you know, companies like that, you're going to have to go to them every now and then and buy specialty tools. And that's why I'm saying you guys are going to find out that a lot of these tools are very expensive. So you have to say, well, for instance, choke tubes in a shotgun. How many choke tubes am I going to do a year? Because the tool alone, you're going to need about 2 different tools to do that. And those bits to do that you need is about $150 to $200 and something a piece. So, and there's several things that's going to be very expensive. So just focus on what you need to do to get your job done.
Right. Good.
And by the way, I applaud him for staying on his property, because I tell everybody that's the best way to go.
Right.
I have learned through experience. Don't get that overhead if you don't have to, because you really don't need a ton of space to do gunsmithing. You need some room, yes, but you can get these sheds now. I mean, you can get these buildings you can put on your property that are, 16 by 16, and man, between that and your garage, you should have more than enough.
Right. Good. Couple more, and then we'll wrap it up, I promise.
Okay.
What extra items would you recommend selling in your shop? Ammo, holsters, slings, yada, 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 that kind of thing.
Okay, if I'm going to do a full-service shop, okay, which I have done, sell firearms and the whole 9 yards, you're going to want to have those kinds of accessories. What I would really suggest, if you're going to be a gunsmithing shop, carry the things that your customers are going to have to pay you to install. Common sense.
Yep.
Sell sights. Sell Magpul forearms and upgraded stocks and magazines and just things like that relates to gunsmithing, and that they're going to have the gun either done for them, unless they're really good at it themselves, which the majority are not. So keep in mind, you want to sell things that's going to wants you to do it for them. So you're making money, okay? Now, if you're going to sell firearms, that's great too. Then that opens up a whole different world. But you'll find that for you as a gunsmith, if you're carrying upgrade items for firearms, chances are they're going to buy it and say, okay, now how much to install it? And then come and break it. Well, you bought it from me, so I'm going to cut you a break and give them a price to install.
Right. Makes sense to me. Okay, cool. I have a couple little last ones here. We'll wrap it up here. I have a couple, and I'm sorry if I didn't get to your questions. There are just still a million of them in here. Let's do this one first. As far as record keeping goes, would it be better to use a computer-based software or not? Do you have an opinion on that?
You know, I've never used a computer-based software, and I know in our day and time and how we are now in the world, we're all going to that. Oh, there's Charlie. we're going to all that, but I still prefer to use written logbooks because written logbooks don't disappear when a computer crashes.
Yeah.
And that's my big fear. And ATF is unforgiving when it comes to you not having your records.
Right.
And it's caused a lot of guys to actually be shut down. So, you know, I mean, as far as not being able to prove the records. So I still prefer to do it by hand and in the book. Okay.
Do you recommend giving classes at your shop, like concealed carry classes, anything like that, firearms instruction?
Sure. Listen, if you're a certified instructor and your state has certified you, some states require you to be certified by them as well. Mm-hmm. If you want to teach classes, go for it. I mean, there's no reason you can't do that. You're gonna, you're going to need a range, obviously, to take them to that lets you work with that. But as long as you got those ducks lined up, go for it. Make some money.
And this, I have a couple questions about you. Have you done any gunsmithing training with other schools?
I have, but I do not disclose them because I work for SDI.
Sure. Well, let me tee this one up for you, courtesy of Don here. Any comparisons you can make in regard to SDI? And let me preface this by saying I used to work in admissions for SDI, so we used to get this question a lot. We at SDI we feel that there's room for everybody. You know what I mean? Sure. I don't think that we would never go into a conversation saying this school is terrible and that school is terrible and that school is terrible. So maybe, Kip, if you could, knowing your background with whatever school it was, maybe highlight some of the things that you think SDI does better. I think that's probably a better way to do it.
I think that you're going to find that one of the things that we do better, especially for any school that's like ours that does do online training and at home, you're going to find that the instructors, you actually have instructors with this school. Mm-hmm. The other ones you do not. They say you do, but you don't. You cannot get online and ask me a question on a lot of those other places. And yes, I have looked at those courses, and yes, I've even taken some of those courses. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you this is why I'm working for SDI. We are striving to be the best, and let me reiterate that, to be the best at what we do and give our students everything that I never got.
Right.
Enough said?
Yeah, absolutely. I love it.
Okay, and I truly mean that to the guys that are listening. I truly mean that. I am one of those instructors. Sarah will tell you this. I'm not even a full-time instructor yet, okay? Yep. But I'm on this computer 7 days a week, more than once a day, to make sure that my students are getting graded, and if they have any questions, I'm there to answer their questions, and I don't even care if they call my business.
Right. That's super cool.
That's the dedication we have at SDI.
Right. And that's above and beyond. I mean, although I would say, I've had a bunch of other of the instructors, they just cut. Ray Vaughn, we did a webinar with a couple months ago, for those of you that were on for that one. He said the exact same thing. Call my business, call my shop.
Yeah.
Any questions. So.
We're great guys.
And we're not afraid to say it, right?
No.
No. Okay, cool. Let's finish up here with choosing one last one here. Oh, this is kind of a fun one. Kenneth wants to know if 64 is too old to do this.
Kenneth, 64 is not too old. I opened this business 3 years ago, and I have been all over the spectrum of things. And that should tell you right there that age does not matter.
Yep.
In fact, I like to think us older guys are a little bit more patient and can get things done a little bit. We're not so apt to get all crazy. But no, age has nothing to do with gunsmithing. Gunsmithing is a love and a passion for the art of firearms. That's all it is. And those who really, truly have it will excel. And another thing I want to touch on, too, is let's not just focus this on the guys. Girls, this is something you can do, too. I had 2 girls that went through my last month's class, and I was so excited because we finally had some females in the school, and I was thrilled to death, and they did an awesome job on their assignments. So, you know, this is not a gender-dominated thing either. Right. In fact, I like to see more women get involved with it. Really. Me
too. We have a couple really good female students here. We've had some good success with our female students.
Oh yeah, man. We're probably talking about 2 of the same ones.
Yeah, probably.
I'll tell you what, they have really worked their rear ends off to on their papers too. I was very, very impressed, and they got it. I mean, that was the main thing. They got it. I was enjoying reading their papers. It was like, wow. She really went into depth here and went into depth here, and this is awesome. You know, if I could give better than 100%, I would have. You know.
Cool. I love that.
But yeah, it's one of those things. Age doesn't matter, and neither does gender.
Cool. Very cool. Well, I think we should wrap it up, and I so appreciate everyone's time. Go ahead.
One other thing that I do want to touch on before we go.
Yes, I'll let you. You're in charge.
And we didn't get a chance to do this. Okay?
Okay.
And that was the question that come in, who do I go to? Let's talk about firearm stores for just a minute.
Okay.
One of the things I sought after, the reason I don't sell guns, is because I wanted all the gunsmithing. There was no gunsmiths in my area, not really. There was a lot of it claimed to be, but just didn't cut the mustard. So I wanted to get the gun stores business. So what I did was I went to the individual gun stores and said, look, I'll set you up a special price. You can charge what you need to make a little bit. I understand that. I'll give you a cut rate. I will not sell guns. You just give me the gunsmithing, and it all works out.
Yep.
Okay? And that has worked out awesome. So what I'm telling these guys and gals out there is go to your local gunsmiths or your gun shops, get to know them, and you'll probably find they don't have a gunsmith and would like to have a gunsmith. So you can work out a deal with them, and once they start referring, they'll take in guns, they call you, you go pick them up, you repair them, and man, that will start opening the doors. So I wanted to throw that in there real quick. And
I'm glad you did.
I don't know, maybe we should do a part 2 to this sometime.
I know. There's been enough questions that we probably could do this again sometime. So.
Well, I'm game. If you and the people listening would want to do it again, I'm more than willing to come back and answer more questions because, you know, I know what they're going through. When you get started, you don't know who to turn. And a lot of people won't talk to you.
Right.
A lot of people don't want any competition and don't want this and don't want that out there. So, you know, come to SDI. We'll help you out.
Yep. Cool. Oh, good. I just got a couple people chirping in here for I'm in for part 2 and that
awesome.
kind of thing. So maybe we'll have to look into that. Well,
that's pretty good for a fat guy from Tennessee. You know,
see, there you go. You're moving on up. Kip, I so appreciate your time, and everybody who's listening, thanks for hanging in there. This has been a long one, but we have had almost everybody the entire time. So thank you so much for attending.
Awesome.
I will try to get this link out as soon as possible. I'm not sure if I'll be able to edit it all down tonight. I'm going to try to take away some of that junk at the beginning and everything, but I'll get it out as soon as I can. I know a lot of people had a lot of questions, and you can certainly refer to this link with any questions you have on that RK thing that he was talking about. There's a lot of information that people had kind of re-requested. I'll be sure to include what I can in that video as well. So
awesome. Well, I want to say thank
everybody.
You.
Yes.
I really appreciate it. Had a lot of fun, and I appreciate you letting me on. This is the first time I've done one of these, so if I'm a little new at it, that's why people are listening. So
well,
I want to thank
great.
the listeners.
Yeah.
I want to thank the listeners out there and say, hey, don't be shy. Call SDI and ask any question you want, because if they can't get it, even if you have a question for me, call SDI. They'll give you my link up. We'll get you hooked up, and we'll help you out any way we can.
Yeah, and that's a good note too to end on. If you do have any questions, my personal email is Jennifer, JENNIFER @SDI.edu. I'd be happy to forward any questions to Kip. We might even compile one for the next webinar or something like that. But if you do have any follow-up questions, I'll jot down what we didn't get to. Feel free to email me directly if you do have any questions. So awesome. Thanks, everybody. And everybody, I hope everybody has a great rest of your evening. And like I said, I'll try to get this all out as soon as possible. All right.
Thanks so
Thanks,
much.
everybody. Thanks, Kip. Have a good night.
Absolutely. And don't forget, everybody, SDI is the place to go.
One final plug, right? One final SDI Love Fest.
Hey, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it if I didn't believe it, because trust me, my reputation's out there. So I'm telling you all, I really believe in the school, and I think if you get the information and you sit down and you look at it, you'll make the right choice.
Great. Thanks so much. Everybody have a good night.
Good night.